You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
The AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Preachers of L.A. After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Preachers of L.A. After Show.
I still don't know the words to this song. One day I am going to learn.
I know my one word.
And it's funny because Meg, people actually like you singing, Meg. She's not singing.
I am singing. This is the voice the Lord gave me.
Welcome to the after show for Preachers of L.A. This is a very special day because not only is it the season finale, but we have a very special guest in the building. It is our favorite pastor on the show. I said
hands down favorite.
Mr. Jay Haizlip. How are you?
Hi.
I'm doing great. Wonderful to be with you ladies.
We're so glad to have you.
We are so thankful to have you. And I know Thanksgiving is soon, and you just did a Thanksgiving sermon, and you rushed over here. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, it's an honor. I appreciate you guys just what you're doing and getting to be a part of this tonight.
Yes.
So, listen, I am a pastor, so you guys are going to have to behave.
We did not promise that.
So. No, we will. We definitely will.
We'll be good.
Now, speaking of Thanksgiving, what are you thankful for? We'll open up with the show with that.
Yes.
You know, some of the things that I could sit here and go on and on all day, but, you know, I haven't forgotten where God brought me from. I still remember what my life used to be like. You know, I didn't grow up in the church, you know, so I didn't grow up. Unfortunately, I grew up, you know, I was heavily involved in partying. I was heavily involved in drugs. For 12 years, I did cocaine. Cocaine robbed me of everything that meant anything to me. And it just took me to a place where just being this major drug addict, where I was so miserable, unhappy, and to have Jesus step into my life and change me and set me free, that in itself, if God never did one other thing for me other than that, I couldn't help but to be thankful for the rest of my life.
Praise the Lord. I feel it already.
Shout up in here. The anointing is alive. I have a question about that. So I was reading on your church, the Sanctuary of Huntington Beach, I was reading on your church's website that you basically, you know, after your, I guess, as you were going through your drug stage of your life, you came across somebody who told you about Jesus.
Yeah.
Was it like a Saul Paul conversion where you like immediately like, I love God, I'm now?
Totally.
Was it really?
It was a Damascus Road experience, what the Bible refers to as Saul when he was on the Damascus Road. He was actually going to persecute Christians. I was going to buy drugs. The presence of God came down on Saul, just radically changed his life. And that's what happened that night when that man led me to Jesus. You know, God just so touched me. I desperately had cried out to God probably a couple weeks before that. I'd come out of a treatment center where I'd voluntarily placed myself in there, 30-day treatment center, came out and went out partying all weekend long and doing coke, came home on a Sunday morning, sat on the edge of my bed, and I just broke and started crying because sitting on the edge of my bed, you know, being up for a couple of days, it was like all of a sudden the scales fell off my eyes and I saw and I realized what I was doing to my wife, to my son, to people that were connected to me, loved me, and cared about me. And in that moment, just sitting there, I just broke and just started crying. And I begged God. I said, if you're real, please help me. And I know that God heard that prayer. And a few Friday nights later, that's why God put that man in my path that shared Jesus with me.
Wow.
Have you come across that man again, or was it one of those just random people that crossed your path?
He is still one of my best friends today.
Really?
He literally became like my spiritual father.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, when this guy led me to Jesus, had he known what he was fully getting into, he might have debated whether he wanted to, because I was high maintenance in the beginning.
You know, I was going to ask you that too. You minister to so many people. Who ministers to you? Who helps you?
Well, I do have a certain, I got a handful of guys that I'm in personal relationship with. You know, particularly like the gentleman who led me to Jesus. He's like my spiritual dad. I have a pastor as well. I think that's very important that even as a pastor, we need to have a pastor.
Right.
And so I have a pastor. He's been my pastor for just about my entire Christian life. And matter of fact, he's going to be at my church preaching in a couple of weeks. And he's on up there in age now. But then I have a couple other guys that are in ministry that are on my board. And some of those guys, I've given them permission because I really trust them. You know, I trust them enough to lay my life down and put my life in their hands. And I trust those guys enough to where I've given them permission to say, no, you don't need to do that, Jay.
Oh, well.
And take it. And I will take it as long as it's not unbiblical.
Right.
And these guys aren't going to do that.
I respect that so much.
Right.
I feel like there's not enough men out there who have other men that can hold them accountable, who can, you know, help them walk the right path. So to see you in a position where you lead other people and still you have men around you that help lead you, I think that's amazing.
And then, you know, even at my church, you know, there's a total of 8 pastors on staff. Mm-hmm. You know, they're the elders as well, even though I'm the lead pastor and we're a pastor-led church. But I'm in a great relationship with those guys. Some of them are really, you know, real close friends. And so, you know, we just have this relationship where, because of the nature of our relationship, there's built-in accountability. You know, it's not, even though there's that official relationship there where we hold each other accountable,
right,
it's really more organic.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, we're spiritual homies. And so, you know, we hold each other accountable.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
In a good way, you know what I mean? We hold each other accountable
in
a good way, and we trust each other.
I'm starting to see on the show that you guys are holding each other accountable as well. Sometimes we'll see Gibson jump in and say, hey, Deitrick, you know, or hey, Jones, you need to marry that woman. And it's nice to see that you guys are, you know, you have your own thing going on, but you're helping each other as well.
Well, you get this many pastors. You know, these are all alpha male pastors. You know what I mean?
Very alpha male.
We're all used to being, you know, the number one guy in our world, and now you put us all together. So they're all strongly opinionated.
Right.
Everybody's going to tell you what they think, even if you don't ask them.
What has this whole experience been like for you? You have a public life already. So now to be on the TV screen as well with these people that you're kind of just meeting and forming relationships with, I mean, what's the process been like for you?
Well, you know, being in the media isn't anything that's necessarily new to me, because I was a professional skateboarder for years, on the cover of magazines and, you know, videos and things like that. And then I was in another TV show in 2008 and 2009. But
for your skateboard ministry.
Yeah, it was skateboarding.
Yeah,
yes.
Cool.
And it was me and 2 other pro skaters. But being on this show is different than any experience I've ever had. Well, for one, when I was a skateboarder, I wasn't a Christian. Mm-hmm. So, you know, people celebrated my life of partying and stuff. That was part of my image, you know. But now that I'm a preacher on Oxygen, this isn't the Christian Church channel.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a whole nother dynamic to it. And, for example, you know, just coming here tonight, we stopped at In-N-Out Burger as I left church here, coming here.
Did they recognize you?
There's a guy in the In-N-Out Burger who recognized me, you know. He's like, hey, Pastor.
Awesome. Did you get free food?
No, he didn't work there. He was going to eat, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
When you watch the show, what do you say when you see yourself? Are you like, does it make you cringe? Do you see, was there ever anything that you were like, I wish I didn't do that?
Or do you think, oh, my goodness, my hair looks out of place?
Whatever, that's not possible.
Like, should have done a better dye job. You know, when it seems it's really surreal right now. You know, even though I'm watching it, you know, and I'm definitely experiencing everything that's going on with it, but it still seems surreal. It doesn't. Then I realize the bigness of what's happening. You know, it's the #1 show on Oxygen, and just millions of people are watching it. And I know all that, but when I go home at night, I'm sitting there, I don't feel any different. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It just. Yeah.
Is there anything that you wish you didn't do or you did differently when you watched this show?
anything that, well, I mean, obviously, if I was the producer, and I would create different storylines at times.
Okay.
And there have been times where I felt like that our storyline could have played out a little better.
Okay.
Or we filmed a massive amount of stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, we filmed for days, and that stuff's not even in there.
Right.
Where's all that stuff?
Right.
I was, watching it, I kind of get that too. Like, we don't see a whole lot of your personal life, whereas with Deitrick, I feel like we're all up in his business all the time.
Yeah.
And then you kind of come off as a little bit more reserved, and even your kids, is that like a conscious choice of yours to keep them out of the filming?
No, well, not my daughter. My boys, my oldest son, he lives out of state now, and then my other son, he doesn't want to be in the show at the moment, and because his personality, he's just a quiet person anyway. And then my daughter, she's cool with being on it, and so you've seen little glimpses of her on there. And
is that Paris?
Paris, yeah.
She's so pretty, by the way.
She's awesome.
I have a question about one of your children's names. I was, researching, and their name is Newt Godfrey. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my oldest.
How did you come up with that name?
Well, actually, I'm his stepdad. He's been with me since he was 2 years old.
Oh, nice.
And so, I didn't have anything to do with naming him. That's why the last name's different than my name.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought maybe it was just like, I don't know. It's like God in it. So I figured there was a reason why it was named, he was named
God
that.
has set him free.
Right. Yes. And so I do have a question about, was there anything before the show started that you talked with your wife about and said, you know what, these are things that, before we decide to do this show, these are things that we need to resolve, or these are things that we need to make sure we show more of? Was there any conversation like that before the show started?
Well, Christy and I, when we talked about it, for one, she had more reservation about it than I did. There were a couple of things that really affirmed to me that this is what we were supposed to do. I really believed in my heart, number one, God wanted us to do this. If I didn't believe in my heart God wanted us to do this, you could offer me $1 million and I would say no, because pleasing God is way more important to me than anything else. And so number one, I felt like that. But then, Christy, she had reservation because, when you think about, I know they don't officially call Preachers of L.A. Reality show. It's called docuseries, but in essence, it's a reality show.
Right.
And you don't typically think positive things when you think reality show.
Yeah.
And so when presented with the idea, she's like, "Are you crazy?" We're not. I mean, for one, how are they going to edit us? What are they going to make us look like? I don't want to look crazy. I don't want them to make us look crazy. And so we just through conversation. For one, she thought, why do they even want us? We're boring. Why would they want us on there? I'm like, baby, you are not boring.
Not at all.
You're like a hot firecracker.
Yes.
One thing we notice about you and Christy, you guys have this passionate relationship, and even after, I think you said 26 years of marriage.
26, yeah.
And even in this episode, we see you surprise her with flowers, and you step out of your comfort zone and you do the tango with her. Tell us about your love story, because we don't hear much of it. How did you guys meet? How did you romance her? How did you get the beautiful Christy?
Well, I met Christy because I was out here as a skateboarder, and I left California just because I was just a broken person. The wheels were still spinning, but inside I was broken. I was living in Hollywood, living the full Hollywood life, and I thought I just got to get away from everybody. I'm running with all my friends. I just got to get away from everybody. I'm going to go back to Alabama. I went to my grandparents' house, and I would go there on a somewhat regular basis, and people knew me from when I was a kid there. So all these guys were like, they said, "Hey, we're going to go see our friend from California. You want to go?" She's like, "Oh, sure." So they came over, and her and I became friends. She actually set me up on dates with her girlfriends. And
funny is that?
And we became, our friendship kept growing and growing and growing until one day we realized, this is more than friendship. We actually like each other. And so it wasn't, was never this like official, hey, do you kind of want to go steady thing. Even though there came a point in our relationship where we made that kind of commitment to each other.
Bishop Noel Jones, now he's a big talk on the show with his relationship with Loretta, and it's been said that they've been together for 16 years. When do you feel is the right time to marry, or what advice would you give to young who are wanting to get married, who are dating? When is the right time? How long did you date Christy before you decided she was the love of your life?
I think Christy and I probably dated a couple of years. I can't remember exactly how long, but yeah, probably a couple of years. Christy and I dated. There was a period where we broke up because I came back to California, moved back to Hollywood, and then all I would do was think about her. I'd go home in the middle of the night, and I would been up late. Now, once again, I wasn't a Christian then, so I'd come home super late from being out at the clubs and partying, and it's so it's probably 5 in the morning here, 6 in the morning here. It's like 8 or 9 in the morning there. I'm like, I'm going to call her. She's waking up. I'm going to call her before I go to bed. And so that's kind of. So then I went back. I just couldn't get her off of my mind. And just in the middle of the night, one night, I just jumped in the car with some guys and drove all the way across the United States.
Wow.
And so that's kind of.
By the way, that drive, I'm from Alabama too. That drive is true love. My husband drove out here for me. So it took 3 days, I think, to get all the way out here. So people don't take that drive lightly.
Yeah. Takes 3 days and 2 nights if you spend the night.
Oh,
we didn't. I had a couple of guys with me. We drove all the way. We didn't stop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, you said you weren't a Christian at first. You became a Christian. And then I think in an interview, you said that later on, Christy became a Christian. What do you think is the male role when you become a Christian? Is it to lead the family? Did you feel like it was important to you to have her become a Christian as well?
Yeah, I mean, for one, as a Christian, I really believe what the Bible teaches. I believe the teachings of the Bible. I believe in eternity. And if I love somebody, obviously I'm going to want that for them. And when you experience the goodness of God, when you experience the peace of God in your heart, the joy that comes from having a relationship with God, you're going to want everybody else to have that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when Jesus came into my life, I really thought I tapped into like this ancient secret. And I thought it's like my leather jacket. I thought, man, if people could just put this on, they'd never want to give it back.
Right.
And so I wanted to tell everybody about it, and her included. And so at first when I gave my life to the Lord, she was hesitant. She just was watching me because I'd been trying to change my life for a couple years, and so for one, she had to experience the heartache and the pain of just living with somebody who was a drug addict. That's very hard. That's not easy. And so she had to deal with that on top of, here I am for 2 years trying to change my life and dragging her through the process of every program, every counselor, everything I'm going to do. She's being drugged through all that. And so when I give my life to the Lord, she's like, is this just another thing? Is this just like another program? So she was real standoffish watching me. But then within a short period of time, she's like, wow, my husband, something's happened. He's either praying or reading his Bible. That's all he's doing.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful place.
Yeah, so.
Love that. We are so excited to have you here. We're not even talking about the episode. We want to know all about you, but we do need to get to the episode. So we'll have you chime in on all the topics that we are going to discuss today and things that we got to see. We've seen a lot in this episode. We see Noel crawl back to Loretta, which I thought was going to happen. 16 years of friendship.
Right.
It's hard to separate those two. Chime in. What do you ladies and Haizlip, what do you think about, their friendship? And did you think that they were going to be separated for long?
No, I think anyone could have saw that coming. They definitely seem really cozy and cute, so I can't wait for season 2 when we're walking them down the aisle. Early prediction.
You see, I'm looking at you like this. I don't think that's gonna happen.
I'm gonna light the fire under his feet and try to get that to happen.
Like that didn't happen enough this season.
Yes. I know. Yes. Hopefully you'll officiate.
I know.
Hey, we'll see what happens.
Anybody's wedding.
I'd be willing to do that one.
Okay. I would too. I would go get my minister's license so I could do that.
We also see Bishop Gibson. He meets up with his sister Sean, who he had helped get into a rehab program. And let me tell you, when she walked into the room, she was glowing. She looked chunky. He even said, "You look like you gained some," but she looked good. Even her hair looked pretty, he said.
Right.
It was so nice to see. You see the change even in her eyes. What did you think when you see Sean and her recovery? Did you have any memories of, you know, your change and evolution that you came from?
Well, it really, I mean, it touched my heart. I have a special heart for, you know, people that are just going, especially when you look at somebody like that many years of drug addiction. A lot of people would view that as, you know, that person's just never going to be a productive member of society. They're just going to be a casualty, a number, and a victim to drugs. And to see her life transformed and to see her healthy and clean with a smile on her face, it's just beautiful. To me, there's nothing more beautiful than that. I love that, you know.
There was something that she said that really touched my heart, and she said to her brother, you know, "I never told you this for the last 28 years or however long," she said, "but how come God doesn't change me the way he changed you? I pray and call out and cry to the same God. I don't want to be a drug addict anymore."
Right.
What did you guys think of that?
Years.
Yeah,
she said 38 years.
Well.
And it really hurt because this is a question that happens to a lot of people, not even in just this situation. And she said, you know, why did he instantly do it for you, but he didn't do it for me? And I'll have to commend Bishop Gibson for his answer because he said, he was honest. He said, "I don't know. I don't know why God does what he does. But I know that's your story, and it's only positive from here." So I really commend him for that. And I wanted to know what you thought about that, Pastor Haizlip, when somebody says to you, "Well, why did you have a Damascus Road experience and I didn't?"
And I've had many people ask me that because I help so many people that are like that. And my answer is typically the same. I don't know why everybody doesn't get it the same. But I do know this, that God will set everybody free. It may not happen the same way. Right. For me, it was an instantaneous thing. For some people, it's more of a process. But regardless, if you don't quit and don't quit, you know, just trusting God and leaning on Him, you will get there. God will get you free. Sooner or later, you'll get free. The only people who don't get free are those when they fail, they just quit trying. You know, and they just need to get up and keep going after the Lord. And thankfully, it was a long time for her. And praise God, she's doing good.
Right. Yeah. She looks amazing.
She does.
And you remember when the episode aired, when we were talking about when she actually went to rehab, and I don't know who said it, but you said something about her eyes and how it looked like there was a darkness there, I guess, that comes with addiction. Something about the eyes. Her eyes look totally different this episode.
Definitely.
She looked, you know, the glow came through.
Yeah, I had said in a previous episode that my brother-in-law, he was on drugs, and it was like he was a different person, and I would look into his eyes and I'm just like, this is not him. And unfortunately, he ended up committing suicide. And it was just devastating. But it's the eyes. It's like their soul is lost and trapped. So in this episode where, you know, we can see in her eyes and they look clear, even Ron said it here, eyes are clear. It's hopefully, and I'll pray, hopefully everybody prays for her. We'll see her next season and hopefully she'll still be clean. And
I think she has 5 months clean now, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Wow. I love seeing the ministry in these episodes. You see real ministry. And we've seen you with the woman who was anorexic and the girl who then turned into a boy. And these are all real topics and real issues.
All those are real.
And you know what I want to say? I want to say thank you because I feel that a lot of the way that you handle these situations, a lot of Christians would kind of do the wrong thing. They would do what they think is religiously correct instead of what is spiritually correct. So I want to say thank you to you for truly representing what Jesus Christ did, which is to love people no matter what. So thank you.
Well, I really do love people. I really do care about people. And some of those situations, particularly one, that would have been an easy thing to do the religious thing.
Right.
Because if I did the religious thing, I just pull out the Word of God and chop you up and it's over.
Right.
You know, and I don't have to deal with you.
Yeah.
You know, but God wouldn't be pleased with that. That's a real person. And so that's, you know, grace isn't always easy. Grace can be messy. You know, and because grace can be messy, you know, just living life doesn't, and dealing with people, isn't always easy. And so it's just part of it.
Right. And I feel like that's part of your ministry. When you said that you absolutely knew you had to do this show, I can see it as I watch these episodes because you show that you don't have to fit in the religious box for God to love you. You get tattoos, you know, you're a former drug addict. You love people who had, you know, sex changes. You love people no matter what. And I think that's awesome because that reaches a segment of people who feel like no one loves them and God doesn't care for them.
Yeah. God doesn't love people any less because they sin.
Right.
You know, he doesn't love the saint any more than he loves the sinner. You know, God loves us unconditionally. He loves a gang member, a drug addict, a prostitute, a CEO, a dentist. He loves people unconditionally. And his love is just the same for everybody, regardless of what they're doing. And sometimes religious community, when somebody says yes to Jesus or yes, I want to be a part of God or the church, and they mess up, then the church world says we're going to withhold some of our love because they're afraid that if we still love unconditionally in somebody's failure, that somehow that's affirming them to do the wrong thing.
Right.
And Jesus never quit loving people when they messed up. And loving somebody when they messed up doesn't mean you messing up is okay. It just means that my love's greater than your mistake.
Right.
You know?
You better preach that, Pastor Haizlip. Better preach on that.
Do you have any updates on the people that you've ministered to and throughout this season? How is the woman that was anorexic? Is she doing better? Is DJ still going to your church?
Well, she actually did come to church, and so that was very beautiful. Yeah, I was.
They needed to edit that in there.
Yeah, she came to church.
That's
you know. And because all of that really was organic. None of that was pre-planned. We were actually going to the park for Christy and I just to film a conversation.
Right.
And she was there, and I did really what I would do even if I was by myself and the cameras weren't there. And so I invited her to church because I really wanted her to come to church because I believe the church, the local church, is the hope of the world. And I believe every community should be able to go to church and find hope and solutions and answers to all life's problems. And so she came, and I didn't see her there because the church was packed full of people. But then at the end of our service, oftentimes we invite people to come down for prayer. And so they're all there. I'm standing in the altar. I'm praying for people. And all of a sudden, somebody taps me on the shoulder, and I turn around, and it's her. Aww. And I thought, how beautiful is this?
Yes.
You know?
Very, very beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You know what else is beautiful? Your tango dancing.
Yes. Have you really never danced with your wife before that?
Unfortunately, I have to admit, you know, I wasn't a dancer. I mean, I didn't view myself as like the cool guy in the corner, but, you know, but I was just, you know, I didn't.
Well, you did pretty good. I mean, you stepped on her feet. But beside that, you did pretty good.
Well, I was dancing in my Converse, you know.
That's the excuse.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
I needed some leather soles. You know, back in I mean, there was a certain point where I would swing dance, you know, but I'd have to get kind of loaded.
I love it. Now, I guess what took over this episode was...
Hold on, wait. I do have to say something about that. So your wife says that it takes forever for you to do your hair. Does it really?
It does not take forever.
It's pretty perfect.
It is very perfect.
Well, it's a skill. It's an art. It's really it's like art. It's like, you know, it's like sculpting. And, but I've got it down to where I can do it quick.
Yeah. What's quick?
Quick. I can get my hair done in 10 minutes. If it's longer, if I don't have, you know, like if it's when it's longer, it takes longer to blow dry because you have to blow dry it. I can't just let my hair dry.
Yeah.
So you blow dry. What else do you do?
Do you gel it? Hairspray, yeah.
Well, I blow dry it, and then I have this this pomade that I put in there that's water dissolvable. So, because she doesn't like the Murrays and stuff like that because it leaves a mess on the pillow. So now I get the kind that when you take a shower, it really washes out. And so I put, I blow dry it, then I put hair product in it, and then I put a little hairspray on it, and bang.
I think after this season, you should start your own hair product line.
You should.
I think that would be huge.
Yes.
I'll be using your hairspray for this show. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, your hair does look amazing. I keep looking at it like it doesn't move. It's so clear. It's perfect.
I know. Even with the headsets on,
Right.
it's like perfect.
Still perfect.
I didn't check it out. I didn't look to see to make sure.
It's still perfect. I promise.
We've seen it look perfect as well throughout Deitrick's wedding when you were officiating. Now, during this wedding, we've seen so much happen. We see his dad pull him aside and kind of give him his blessing. And we know throughout these episodes that if anybody was hard on Deitrick, it was definitely his dad. He was so hard on him, we know that he had him step down when he was preaching at his father's church because of the divorce. So now to see him give him his blessing on his new marriage, I think it was a great thing to see. What did you guys think?
Well, I definitely, because Deitrick is trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And so if somebody's trying to do the right thing, he stepped down. It's been like a year and a half. That's a long time.
Right.
From going through his divorce to where he's at right now. And so over that period, at least a year, well over a year.
2 years.
2 years, 2 years, because his baby's 2 years old now.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a long time to walk through a restoration process, to make yourself accountable to other people. 2 years is really longer than if you went to any other denomination, religious organization, and you had some type of moral failure. Typically, a year at the max is what's going to be restoration. A year is pretty typical of the restoration pathway and process, unless you just do something that just absolutely permanently disqualifies you to be a minister. And of course, Deitrick hasn't done anything like that, but of course, he has had some pretty rough things happen. And so he's trying to do the right thing, and I think his father just wanted to let him know that, okay, I approve. You've walked out this process, and so I'm just going to affirm you. And so to me, it's a beautiful thing. You have to give somebody a goal. Like when you're used to being something or used to doing something, the thing about being a preacher that's different than anything else. If he had been a banker, there'd been a banker wouldn't have lost his position.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If it had been an attorney wouldn't have been disqualified from practicing law over the same mistakes.
Right.
And I'm not trying to minimize the mistakes that Deitrick experienced, but when you're a minister, you have to give somebody some type of hope of restoration. There has to be a goal that you're aiming for, that I can really get my life back. I can still be used by God. God, I'm not cursed, God's not going to forsake me. And to have him walk through that long restoration process and come to a point where his dad affirms him. And, I don't know all the details, so I don't know why his dad was rough or wasn't rough or anything like that, but maybe Deitrick needed somebody to be a little rough with it.
We definitely had that conversation last week where just watching him interact with his dad, because Deitrick is normally in control of every situation that he's in. His dad kind of came in and took the upper hand, like, I'm the dad here, I'm the bishop, and what I say goes.
Right.
And so we're kind of wondering, is he being too hard on him? Would God punish him in this way? Like, trying to weigh out whether or not his father's actions and attitude were just. But I guess that you're saying that there is a necessary process that needs to happen in order to kind of get back right with God to minister to other people. Well,
there's a difference in restoration and being right with God.
Okay.
As soon as Deitrick realized, okay, I've sinned, I've done wrong, and Deitrick said, Jesus, forgive me, and if he meant it from his heart, right then, bang, he's right with God. So restoration doesn't make him right with God. Restoration rebuilds trust. When you're in public ministry like we are, when you have a failure on that level in the eyes of people, trust has been broken.
Right.
And so you have to do you have to walk down a pathway that repairs that and rebuilds that. And that's not always easy, regaining the trust of people. And so really restoration, there's a couple of things that happen in restoration. One, it takes you down a pathway of somebody holding you accountable, because if there's something going on in a person's life where they have now become extremely vulnerable to fall to certain things or prone to fall to certain things, you want to identify that. And you want to do whatever is necessary so that doesn't keep happening. Mm-hmm. Because the minister's a real person just like the people he ministers to.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so God cares about the minister. God cares about the people. And God wants all of them to be healthy.
Right.
And so, that's some of the things that happen.
Well, I have a question. Why were you hesitant when Deitrick asked you if you could marry them?
Well, for one, I was put on the spot. I had to just okay. I'm aware that I don't stick my nose in people's business.
Yeah.
Unless somebody invites me to do that. So I'm aware. I've watched the TV. I've watched Preachers of L.A. like everybody else. I'm like, wow, what's going on, Deitrick? What are you guys up to? We have our friendship, outside of the show. But once again, I don't ask him personal questions. Mm-hmm. And so, in my mind, I'm evaluating. Okay, where is he at? Where are they? And also, what am I going to say here?
Right.
Usually, I counsel with people. What kind of vows do you want? Yeah. What do you want this to look like?
Right.
So I had to shoot from the hip.
Right. Well, you didn't break a sweat, so
yes.
Well, I have been doing this for a while.
Right. Do you ever go, what am I supposed to say at this point? Do you ever do that, or is it
or does
memorized?
God flow through you and it just comes out?
Well, I'm the kind of guy that, I do my due diligence. I do study, and I try to do all the behind the scenes preparation for whatever I'm going to do, whether it's preaching, weddings, or whatever. But I am the kind of guy that, regardless of what I'm doing, I can be doing, if I'm preaching in a church or doing some other type of thing, I want God, even right now, with you guys, I want the Lord to come through me. And I want God to, give me my thoughts, give me the words, all that kind of stuff. So I'm in what, in my kind of church world, people would call like a prophetic preacher.
Okay.
So the outline of my messages are kind of like in skeleton format. And while I'm preaching, I put the meat on the bones.
Gotcha.
Probably 85% of what I say, even though I've studied for hours, 85% of what I say when I preach was not pre-planned.
There you go. And I can tell, because when you did that prayer for Deitrick and Dominique, I was in there like, I wanted to shout you. I wanted to raise my hands and say, amen, hallelujah. Yes.
I'll tell you, I will give it to you for being the only white pastor on the show. You held it down. You are.
I did not know that.
Do you feel any difference, or do you feel maybe people treat you differently because you're the only white pastor on the show? Or are you white? What's your background? I shouldn't assume.
Yeah. Am I white? Yeah. No, I mean, I feel completely at home. Yes, I am an American. I'm a white American. I guess that's what you'd call me. No, I don't feel any different at all. The cast members definitely don't treat me differently. And in all honesty, when you watch the show, it doesn't seem like there's the awkward white guy.
It definitely doesn't feel that way.
There's the token white guy in there. For one, a lot of the preachers that I like are black guys. Some of the people that I have at my church that I love their preaching, and that's why I have them at my church, are black folks. I have these two black ladies that come to our church on somewhat of a regular basis that just preach the paint off the walls at our church. I love them. I bring them in because they minister to me, and I want them to minister to everybody else. But there was a time where years ago, I was the only white guy at an all-black church. And that church became more racially diverse. And it was in the South then. And it was beautiful. Because in the South back then, you might have some racially diverse churches, but typically it was a white pastor.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But now here, I have a black pastor, and I'm a white guy.
Right.
And so that spoke huge volumes in the South back when that happened.
Oh, I can tell you got the little soul in your preaching.
She's very soulful.
Yes.
You know what's funny is that everybody talks about Bishop Gibson's swag, and I'm like, do you not see Haizlip's swag? You have swag.
It's that Jesus swag you got on.
Oh yeah, we got a different kind of swag. I mean, his attire is dope. You know, he looks hip, but he's definitely a different kind.
He's an OG.
He's an OG for sure. Yeah. He's like a redeemed pimp for Jesus.
I feel like you're like the skater G. He's like an OG. You got the skater G swag.
Yeah, I got the more street thing going.
All right.
Now, what is, I've never been to your church before, but we've gotten a couple glimpses on the show of the sign outside your church. What does it say?
It says, and let me just tell you the way that sign came about, because I was always saying while I was preaching, I would say, hey, you know, addicts are welcome, corrupt CEOs, gays, Buddhists, you know, backbiters, stoners, you know, all these things. I'd say all these things. They are welcome here. Sinners, they're welcome here. And the people in my creative department says, we're going to make you a banner and all these things because you keep saying this. I said, well, if you do it, then I'll preach a message about it.
Right.
And sure enough, they made it. And so in the front of our church, there's this gigantic sign that just says, hey. And then there's this list of all these different kinds of people that make up the culture of L.A., the culture that's around our church. And then at the bottom, it says, welcome. You know, when we first put that sign up, because it says gang members, all that stuff in there. And these condos next door, this lady called the city, you know, and complained about it. Finally, she complained. She said, they said gang members are welcome. We don't want gang members here.
Go to church.
And I'm like, our church is there's 2 gangs in our neighborhood. You know, our church building's been hit with a drive-by bullet before.
Oh wow! Wow! Wow.
Well, I hope those gangsters come in and retrieve it and get a word from the Lord at the same time. We said we're going to come to your church. We want to.
Well, you don't worry. We've prayed over our property with supernatural.
So we don't have to feel scared. We could go there. It's okay.
Yeah, we have transformed our community.
That's amazing.
Oh, I think that's awesome.
And if you would like to get transformed, or if you really just like our after show, make sure you go to iTunes and subscribe to the Preachers of L.A. AfterBuzz show and give us 5 stars. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you think about Pastor Haizlip. He's amazing, isn't he? And make sure you tell your friends and family about it. It's really quick. It only takes 2 seconds. And we appreciate you subscribing to our podcast.
Now, what did you think about Deitrick's family? I can so see where he gets the dramatics from. When I seen his sisters and his brothers, and I was just like, okay, he's not the only one in the bunch. They are characters.
They are.
All of them.
They were so over the top, though.
But I'll tell you this. When I went home for my brother's wedding, I had found out that my sister got married and didn't tell me. And I felt just like his sister. You shut me out.
Shut me out, though, for real.
They're very emotional people.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, very, very emotional.
I mean, I did think it was over the top, but I understand, especially because, number one, she felt shut out. You didn't tell me about your only baby. And then on top of that, then he says, oh, we eloped. And now she's really losing her. Like, you didn't tell me that either. What else are you keeping from me? You know?
And then they had another surprise during the wedding. And I will say, this is the prediction that I have been saying from the beginning. I have been on Bump Watch.
Yes.
And
Bump Watch? What is Bump Watch?
Baby Bump.
Baby Bump Watch.
Bump Watch.
Every episode, we would go, did you see her in that shirt?
She was covering her stomach.
You could kind of see a little bump there. And then we was like, oh, you can't see it in this shirt. And then, you know, so we were always looking. But yes, I will give you that. You did.
We were on Bump Watch.
I didn't know if you meant like Bump Watch.
No, Baby Bump Watch. And we see Deitrick and his wife sit down with the family and say, hey, you know, baby number 2's on the way. And it was funny because Faye was like, I knew it. You kept it from me. I knew it. I called it. So it was nice to see it all finally come together. I feel like This is it. It's finally all on the floor. Deitrick, please don't tell us anything else. This is all we can take.
Well, you know,
I think everything's been cleaned out now. Everything's on the table.
I don't know. And every time he gets ready to make another announcement, his mom gets immediately nervous. And I'm like to the point, too, because it seems like he has a lot of stuff going on all the time. And just watching the episode, like, we knew somebody's going to get pissed off because they're hiding so much stuff the whole time. But the ending, I was a little disappointed in how it ended.
Really?
Only because they showed us these previews of a very explosive blow up between Dominique and her mother. And we didn't get that. Everything was kind of hunky dory.
I mean, but think about it. What can you really say at this point? They're married. What are you going to say? Like,
well, you can't say anything.
Put the baby back. God, take the baby. Like, what are you going to do at this point? They're married.
You can't say anything. However, there was a lot said, and we didn't get to see that.
I didn't even catch that.
You didn't see that? Where she was like, you withheld the truth.
I thought it was Deitrick's
no, that was
sister.
That was Miss Faye. She was pissed off about, I assume, the pregnancy, and it was a blow up that happened that we didn't get to see it, which, you know, happy ending is still all good with me too. So
I needed this. I needed this happy ending for closure. As a fan, I was like, okay, everything is hopefully out. Everything's at rest. I'm excited. Is there going to be a season 2, Mr. Haizlip?
I don't know.
Would you be a part of it?
Would you guys like to have a season 2?
Yes.
We need more episodes, though. 8 was not enough.
I know. I felt
this is hard work. It is really hard. For one, all of us, you know, are full-time pastors.
Right.
You know, I got 2 campuses. And both of our campuses are growing like crazy. And I've got a wonderful team of people that help, and they understand what I'm doing, and they realize the importance of empowering me to do this. So to do another season, I'm not saying I wouldn't, because I probably would do it, as long as all of the conditions are still right. You know, because I'm not interested in doing something if the conditions aren't right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, you got to do it again because you're my favorite pastor.
We need you. We need you on there.
I have a question though about this wedding.
If for some reason we don't do a season 2, I'll come up here and hang out with you guys.
Yeah. You'll be our 4th co-host.
Yeah, the 4th co-host.
You can preach to us at the same time.
Yeah.
We like this.
We need this.
Great.
So I have a question. During this wedding, as we're watching, and you pronounce Dominique and Deitrick, man and wife, they suck face like crazy.
We all cringed.
As you're standing there, and you're like, whoa. They just licked each other's face.
I tried to step out of the line of pictures. So let me just step to the right.
That just means you did a great job officiating. They were so passionate about each other. By the time you ended, they just kind of let it all out.
Yeah, I guess, you know, maybe I took too long in doing those vows. The fire was burning. You know?
Did you know that they were pregnant when you officiated?
No, I didn't.
Wow. Did that change your view after you found out?
No, because that's what they needed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
At this point, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like that's a game changer.
Yeah.
Right.
If anything, it's like, let's hurry up and do this.
Right.
You know?
What do you say about people who have gotten pregnant and then they decide to have what they call a shotgun wedding? Is that something that you look down on, or you're like? That's
well, for one, you know, they did legally get married before before we did it, you know, for all the family and friends and all that stuff. So, you know, they had already gotten married legally in the eyes of God and government. But what was your question again?
As far as them, when people have shotgun weddings, what do you think about that? If they're pregnant.
Well, do you think it's right? Maybe I'll elaborate, but do you think it's right to get married just because you're pregnant?
No, I'm not one of those guys that believe, okay, you guys got pregnant, you have to get married. I don't believe that.
Okay.
Because I don't believe, because sometimes 2 wrongs can be just that, 2 wrongs.
Right?
It's like, okay, you guys did this. Not that a child is never wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because children are a blessing. And so you want to make sure you do everything that needs to be done to create a healthy, positive environment for the baby.
Right.
But that's, depending on the situation, it may not be right for somebody to get married. Maybe what may be most appropriate is, okay, we're going to go our separate ways, but we're going to agree in how we're going to parent this child.
Oh, some little Bible people just got really mad off of what you just said right now.
No, well, I mean, okay, what if some girl, her boyfriend's a drug addict, and they've been living a promiscuous life, she's pregnant, she gets right with God, he's out here crazy on drugs. I'm not going to tell her you got to marry him, and I'm not going to tell him you need to marry her. I'm going to tell her you don't need to marry him.
Right. Thank you for saying
that. Yes.
Yeah.
I was reading on my Bible app. I'm doing some like devotional, I don't know what you call them on there, but and it says you have to get right with God first within yourself. Yeah. So I think, what you're saying, if, he's addicted to drugs, and I believe the same thing, you shouldn't get married. Yeah. He needs to find God on his own, just like you did. And then you were able to bring Christy under your wing, and you guys were both able to find God together.
Right.
So
I have a question about marriage. Is there a difference between a spiritual marriage and a legal marriage?
Well, I think the way that you need to do both.
Right.
Yes, you need to be right in the eyes of government law, and it needs to be right in the eyes of God. So if somebody goes to the courthouse and gets married, they're married. God views them as married, but it's different when you get married by a minister. When a pastor marries you, there's literally a spiritual thing that can happen in that wedding and should happen in that wedding. And that's what you want, because you want the blessing of God to come on your marriage.
Right.
Yes. I love it when you're giving, your view on things. And we've seen one of your views on tattoos, and you're very open about it. You believe, having tattoos is not a problem as long as it's not paganism or worshiping another god. I have a question.
Okay.
So, it's okay to have tattoos, but how do you feel about, like, let's say plastic surgery or enhancing or manipulating your body in other ways?
Do you know any good plastic surgeons?
I do. But it just made me wonder, because, when I was younger, I felt guilty for getting, piercings. And
listen, there's nothing in the Bible that says don't get plastic surgery. I know, because I've seen it happen, where people will get real religious and zealous, and they'll start pushing their personal convictions. Now, there's a such thing as personal convictions, where a person feels like for them to do something, it would be wrong and it would violate their relationship with God. Well, that's personal. And you don't need to take your personal convictions and try to force them on somebody else. Yeah. So if a lady gets Botox, I have no problem with that. Obviously, if somebody, because we've all seen these horror stories where people, they don't know when to quit, and they definitely go way beyond what they needed to in getting plastic surgery, and they just start looking like a creature. They don't even look real anymore.
Like a cat. Yeah.
And that's heartbreaking.
Right.
Because then the problem really is you've got a problem inside your heart.
Exactly.
There's something going on inside that's broken, and you're trying to fix it by altering your appearance. But if somebody gets a nose job, or if somebody gets, if they get Botox, I have no problem with that. God doesn't either.
I think God sees the heart and the intention behind everything that you do versus.
All right, I'm going to call my plastic surgeon now. I feel I'm not guilty anymore.
I heard an old school preacher, and ladies, forgive me if this is offensive to you, but I heard an old school preacher say one time, he said, if the bar needs painting, paint it.
I am so offended by that.
That's so funny.
That was pretty good. What else in that episode that stood out that we need to speak to? Faye.
Faye was in rare form.
And she had makeup on, too.
She had her do-rag on.
And she had that wig off.
She had some wine swirling.
I just love Miss Faye. She's honest, and she really, when Dominique tells her, the Haddons want to be friends with you, and she's just like, no, I'm not ready for that.
Nah, this is my space. I gotta invite you in.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Have you met Miss Faye?
Yes, I have. I love that lady.
Right.
I don't know her real well, but just watching the show, I'm like, this lady is like, she is a character.
She's great.
She doesn't care what anybody thinks. She's not impressed by anything. She's not trying to please anybody's agenda. She's just being herself and doing her thing. And she's a cool lady.
I love seeing her squirm, like when Deitrick tries to hug her, or it's just...
Get off me now.
She reminds me of Medea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love, like, the one part where she just, he's trying to what do you call it when you sing to somebody? Not serenade, but kind of.
Oh, she tries to hit him with the spatula.
I'm gonna hit you with a skillet. You know.
Yeah, the skillet. Yeah, that
she
was
definitely needs a spinoff. So Oxygen, if you're listening,
I know.
We'd love to see more of Faye.
I would love to see Faye in love.
Ooh, maybe that should be the next show. Faye in Love.
Finding Faye in Love.
Yes.
I like that.
All right. We are almost at the end. Do you want to talk about news and gossip?
News and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
One thing I will say about news and gossip, Pastor Cheney posted a picture of him with the tattoo. So we seen him not get a tattoo in the episode, but he did end up getting a tattoo.
Good for him. Good for him.
So I was like, okay, go
Look
Cheney.
at you, Pastor Haizlip. I hope you didn't mess up their marriage. Your influences.
Yes. I'm just bringing Jesus back sooner.
I thought Maisha shut it down, but I guess we see who's in charge.
I'm glad that he went ahead and got it. I see it as a form of artistic expression, and so.
Look, to her defense, she actually likes his tattoo.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
She's not getting a tattoo herself, so I don't think we'll ever see that happen. But she's cool with his tattoo.
Okay, cool. Well, we also found out this week that there is a potential issue with our other bishop, Bishop Noel Jones. This past weekend, there were the Preachers of L.A. were in New York to do some press. And word on the street is that Bishop Noel Jones was at a strip club, allegedly. So let's throw up these pictures so you can see for yourself.
I haven't seen them. Should I cover my eyes?
No.
We need a third opinion here.
Guys, give me 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'll talk about what happened until we get the pictures up. So what happened is apparently there is a strip club in New York, and I guess maybe he felt a little safer because you're not supposed to take pictures there.
No pictures allowed.
Allegedly, there was a woman with him. They were in there, and one of the girls, I guess, who worked there noticed who he was, took a picture of herself with him in the background.
A selfie.
And as soon as I guess she went over to him and said, "Hey, aren't you Bishop Noel Jones?" And she said within 45 seconds he hightailed it out of there. He left so quickly that he left the girl in there that he was supposedly doing hookah and kissing. He left her in there, and she left shortly after him. She went back in because he made her go get his jacket. So I'm hoping it wasn't Bishop Jones. But when you see these pictures, you'll just have to judge for yourself.
And who knows what he was doing there.
He might have been ministering.
There are a lot of lost souls, I imagine, at the strip club. So he could have very well been there on a service project.
Yes. And what do you say about that, Pastor Haizlip? If, for example, like some places that are salacious, because, you know, Jesus went to hang with people that he supposedly should not have been hanging with, like, you know, tax collectors and
bill collectors, tax collectors, they're all the same thing.
They're all the same thing. So what do you say about people that are like, well, I was in the strip club or I was in the club doing ministry? Yeah. Is that okay?
Well, this, this isn't in reference to what you're talking about here.
Correct.
But yes, we do have people in our church that go in strip clubs, but we do it. We have girls that go in there,
right?
For that reason, to minister.
Yeah, we have girls that will go there to minister to them. Yes, for that reason. Yeah.
So what about?
Well, they take them packages. They take them like these packages. I don't know what they put them in. They're like these little gift bags, swag bags. They'll have lotion, just girly things in there to make them feel special, and so they'll get them off to the side or whatever they do, and and let them know that they're loved and cared about, and that there's a place for them, and they're welcome. They wouldn't be looked down upon, stuff like that. You know, we have people that come to our church who have done those things, and they've come to our church while they were doing those things as a way of making a living, and as a result of coming to our church, getting saved, they quit doing those things.
That's a blessing.
I think that's so important. Right. I think that's, kind of like how Gibson goes back to the hood. I think it's important to go to those places where there are lost souls.
I'm not going to those places. I'll send somebody else.
Right. Looks like we have those pictures.
Yes. Okay, so this is the woman, if you see in the bottom left corner, that is supposedly Bishop Noel Jones.
Right. Which, by this picture, you can't really tell that it's him.
It could be a lounge.
There's a second one, too, right?
Well, you can't tell where the place is.
Which is a signature mouth move that he does.
I mean, that looks like him. I will say that.
That looks a lot like him.
I don't know if that's him or not, because, but for one, but how do you know that's the kind of place they're saying it is?
It could be a lounge. It could be a cafe.
We don't know. Well, this person, Cream Pie, apparently works there. So that's why she said it was the strip club. So, yeah, I mean, you got to judge for yourself, but hopefully that wasn't Bishop Noel Jones. And if he was there, let's just hope he was doing ministry.
Right. We don't know why.
Let's hope he wasn't.
Yes.
All right, so
let's do predictions for next season.
Because we do predict there will be a next season.
Yes.
So, predictions.
And now,
we got like
your
crazy
AfterBuzz
prediction music.
TV predictions.
I predict that there will be more of Pastor Haizlip and his wife. And we'll get to see more about your family and more stuff that goes on behind the scenes outside the church for you.
Is that what you want to see?
I want to see you do your hair. We gotta.
Oh yes,
I need to see the hair. I need the hair.
That's like the most holy place. That's like the high priest was only allowed to go in the most holy place by himself.
Right.
I need to see more dancing out of you too. So I predict that we see more dancing.
I predicted Dancing with the Stars.
Oh my gosh.
You guys out there, we're Dancing with the Stars. We're gonna get Haizlip on. I predict we will get to see baby number 2.
Yes.
I predict. Now that Deitrick and his wife are married, I feel like we're going to see the growth of him and maybe coming back to preaching. I feel that Jones probably will not get married, but I think either he is going to leave her or... yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, let's just hope Bishop Jones, that wasn't you at the strip club. If it is, probably indication of next season that he's not going to marry Loretta.
I think Loretta is probably very forgiving, as she should be. So I don't think that will break them apart.
Loretta, you better go, girl. Go
15
somewhere else.
years, she's there to stay.
Get on, girl.
I want to see the Cheneys turn up. I want to see them, maybe Maisha get a tattoo or,
that never happened. I know Pastor Haizlip laughs heartily. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I want to see Christy release a clothing line. Her clothes are always so cute. Her fashion.
We actually, she does want to start she always got these kimono things that she wears. And we are talking about starting a company doing that for her.
Oh, look at the prediction on me.
I know.
And just, a little side note, you made fun a minute ago about hair product. Actually, we are considering that.
I knew it. Yes. I called it. That was my prediction.
You heard it here, folks.
I would like to use some of that, by the way. Send some over here.
I will hook you ladies up.
And you're sure that it doesn't stain the pillows, because that's important.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because my husband leaves the residue, and it's not okay.
Yes. Well, I understand that. I used to use Murray's.
You are black.
Exactly.
Swag. So much fun. Thank you so much, Pastor, for coming on the show. This means so much to us and our fans out there. Where can they find you online?
You can find me. I'm easy to find. You can just type my name in on Google. Go to my Twitter. It's just my full name, twitter.com/Jay Haizlip. Then I got a fan page, Facebook thing. So
and that was really you tweeting. I seen you trying to tweet out there, but you had so many tweets that it kind of froze and shut down.
Yes, bummed me out. I wanted to Twitter while we're sitting here because I wanted people to jump in here with us.
Well, awesome. You guys out there, make sure you keep coming back. AfterBuzz.com, AfterBuzzTV.com. We have a whole bunch of other after shows, but if there is a season 2, we promise we will be back here. And we're going to have Jay come back as well.
Love to.
Definitely.
And as always, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Meg Scoop, like scoop of ice cream. And I'm going to miss you until next season, but I'll be praying for you. Praise the Lord.
And Tiffany here. You can find me at latransplant.com. And I'm going to miss you guys, too. I only had 3 episodes, but it's been real.
You're going to be on the whole season next time.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I'm Fallon. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at FitWithFallon, and also fitwithfallon.com. All your celebrity fitness news. You got to tell me your workout regimen because you are looking buff over there.
Right. Yes. It's a fit family you guys have.
I do exercise.
You can definitely tell. You guys out there, please return when we're back on air. Thanks so much for chiming in and watching us, and we will see you next season. Take care.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.